This is Neat and Mixed from Hops and Spirits.
Oh, these are some of my favorite nights when we're drinking bourbon and talking to someone that makes it. It's just a great combination if you ask me. And before we get to the flight night, don't forget to follow us on all of our social media at Hop Spirits and check us out at hopspirits.com so you don't miss an episode of this show or any of our other shows, because we got plenty going on these days. And, you know, we got a flight night with you with the man behind Southern Star Bourbons. He's the co-founder of Southern Distilling. Let's welcome in Pete Barger. Did I say it right?
100%. Yep. Man, I'm proud of you.
Whew.
Practice makes perfect.
I was nervous.
Okay.
I just didn't want to get cussed out.
The show's going to be super easy now that we got that RG.
Nice.
Well, Pete, welcome in. For those that don't know, Brandon is here with me. And, Brandon, I got to give you a little crap because we haven't done one of these in a little while, and you didn't go to the Bourbon Festival in Kentucky with me.
No, I didn't. Unfortunately, I was across the pond vacationing in Italy, so that was a good time.
Yeah, they don't make bourbon in Italy, Brandon.
No, they do not. Didn't really find anything that was worth trying. It was just all normal stuff you see around here. So, but I drank all the wine though. That was good. So.
Well, there you go.
Now. But we have an event this weekend, so.
This is true. Hopefully you'll make up for it this weekend, and I think you're going to have some good pours tonight. Hopefully, as we, like I said, welcome in Pete from Southern Distilling.
We'll make up for everything you missed in Italy. Okay.
Oh, that's.
I'm here for
it. And we're welcoming in Pete from Statesville, North Carolina, of all places. Welcome in, Pete. You want to do the high rye, which I think you dubbed the standard. Is that right?
Well, we historically have called it the standard because I thought that was a really smart name, like the standard, like we establish the standard, it sets the standard. And my marketing people tell me I'm full of shit, that it just standard, it just means kind of average. And so let's just call it bourbon. So I'm gonna defer to smarter folks in the room. But I make the product, they name the product. But either way, it is a high rye. It's a 60-36-4.
Oh yeah, very high rye.
And what I've got tonight is I'm actually doing some single barrel selections. So we do a lot of single barrel picks, and all the blends I do, all of the single barrel picks, I say the picks, the ones that we set aside and allocate for single barrel, I get to choose those. So if you like it, great, it's my fault. If you don't like it, that's also my fault. So the buck stops here.
I like it. Accountability.
But I don't know what blend you guys are tasting. If it's the standard, it's not a single barrel. These are usually 10 to 20 barrel blends. And I know that single barrels are all the rage, but it's just really hard to beat a blend if you do it the right way. That's not to say there's not a few killer single barrels out there, but the thing that we love about blends is that when we go through that inventory and we grade these barrels, we kind of rank them A's, B's, and C's. And the C's are going to have a fault. The A's are going to be just, prime. And the B's are going to be sort of your average barrels. But, what we find is that if we take a cross-section, say, out of 10 barrels, we take 5 A's, 3 B's, and 2 C's, those faults that we found unappealing with the C's really add nuance, character, and depth. And, that's how you go from an A to an A+, is through that blending process. So even though I know that may not be the most trendy thing right now, I think that blends are still super hard to beat. So hopefully you like the blend that you're trying right now.
I was gonna say, Brandon, you've got the bottle. You wanna show it off? And what does it say on there?
It's just the high rye straight bourbon whiskey, 90 proof, and it doesn't really say anything
on the release.
Yeah, it doesn't say anything on the back about it. It just says a little something about you guys, and
Yeah.
doesn't say anything about the blend or the mash bill. So
Well, so I got nothing to hide here, so I'll tell you
Yeah.
all about it. So the mash bill is a 60-36-4, and if you know your bourbon, you know that that is a tried and true mash bill developed first, I think, by MGP, but certainly MGP's probably made more of it than anybody else in the world. And we think very, very highly of MGP, and our even though you're working with the Southern Star product, which is our in-house product, a lot of people don't recognize that the majority of our business is we do contract distilling, and we work with almost 150 different unique brands and clients.
wow.
Not all at the same time, but we've been doing this for almost a dozen years now, so we've developed a pretty deep client base. But a lot of our clients started sourcing with MGP, and for various reasons, wanted maybe a little something different. And that's really kind of our strong suit. We're able to come in and do some things that maybe other contractors won't do, and really give those brands the opportunity to put their own kind of signature on it. But obviously, nearest and dearest to us is that Southern Star brand that we're trying right now. A lot of people say, okay, well, why 60-36-4? Well, because when we started the company more than a decade ago, we weren't releasing vodkas, we weren't making gins. Back in that time, all these craft distilleries, we want to do a bourbon, but we're going to start with a vodka. That wasn't us. We're going, hey, we're going to start with a bourbon. But I didn't have a bourbon. So I had to go to a source, and we sourced from MGP, and we were very grateful for that. But once our product came of age, we were able to convert 100% over to that North Carolina sourced 60-36-4, which is what you're trying today. So anybody who's familiar with the mash bill, that high rye mash bill, you're going to get that rye punch, but our execution is going to be different. Our yeast is proprietary, it's different, and obviously the way that we run our column, I think, is very different. I like to say it's better, but I'm biased. I'm very biased, but I'm a big fan of that.
I like it. I like it. I like the honestly with this high proof. Or not the high proof, but the high rye mash bill with the lower proof coming in at 90 proof, it mellows it out.
Yeah.
It has that little bit of softness to it that really complements it, because you get the spiciness. For me, I get the spiciness kind of like right in the middle.
Yeah.
And then as it smooths, then it just smooths out. I get a little subtle sweetness on the back end.
I'm going to tell you, I mean, that's a great note that you pick up. Everybody, they equate rye to a bit of a burn, a bit of a harshness, but honestly, I believe that this 60-36-4, I mean, what I'm sampling right now is 7 years of age, so it's had a lot of time in the barrel, but I'm sampling at 111 to 113 proof. Ton of sweetness on the finish. And and I'm going to tell you that comes from the way that we really run the high wines and the way we run the high wine condenser, and to a degree the low wine condensers. But we'll give up a little bit of yield in order to get rid of some of the bad actors that the barrel will clean up over time, but we'd rather not put them in the barrel. So our yield is going to be a little less than maybe an industry norm, but we think it's worth it. I mean, and that's, I think, where you see that sweetness coming through, as opposed to that kind of that edge that you would typically equate with a high rye.
No, I was going to say, this is right up our alley, because Brandon and I both love rye whiskeys in general, and then are a huge fan of high rye bourbons. And and like you said, it's the tried and true, the 36%, because some can be in that 20 to upper 20s, low 30s. What made you want to do a high rye bourbon? I mean, I know it's tried and true, but still, not everyone does that.
Yeah, well, I mean, so again, we're very transparent here. This, as I like to tell people when they come in, this is an industry that loves a story, and we've got a lot of stories, and 2 of them are true, right? And we're going to be completely forthright and honest. And I'm going to tell you, the reason we decided to make a high rye bourbon is that when I went to source barrels, 10 or 12 years ago, that high rye 60-36-4 is what was available to me at that point in time. And because that's where we started, I just kind of continue to make it. Now, truth be known today, I probably lay down more 75-21-4 than anything else. Maybe only second to our wheated bourbon, 70-16-14. But we've just got a ton of clients that really built their brand on that 75-21-4 mash bill, which is still considered a high rye. So we still make a lot of it, but and that's how we got there. It's just because when we bought those barrels from MGP, that's what they had, and that's what we started with, and that's kind of what we stuck with.
Well, you're
and I
doing
kind of
good
like
at
it. I
so
mean, I
keep
think that
with it.
it's more unique. Yeah, I mean, it's different.
It's very, very much so. And like I said, I think it's really good, really smooth. Like I said, that sweetness I get on the back. But I don't know. I might be a little bit different than most, but I always get. I think that's why I like rye so much, because I get that sweetness on the back end all the time on my taste buds. But I know a lot of folks don't like rye because they think it's too hot, too spicy, whatever.
Well, I don't think that we're going to be trying any rye tonight. I don't think you've got our rye. But we need to come back and do this again, because we've got some phenomenal ryes. We really excel in that rye. We've got a double rye, which is a blend of a 95.5 and a 51.39 and then we finished that in an ex-bourbon barrel. So it's really unique, very floral nose. But we developed that. I know we're not talking about it tonight, but you've got me talking about it. So tell me,
absolutely.
But
no, go for it.
But we developed that to be a rye that was like really appealing for bourbon drinkers. We wanted it to be sweet. We wanted to have a floral nose. We didn't want it to be too aggressive. We wanted it to be approachable. And here's what's interesting. I don't mean to sound sexist at all, but I mean just, when we get people through the distillery, particularly ladies that haven't, like, they're not bourbon drinkers. I don't really like bourbon. Okay, we'll try this rye. They really like the rye because of all of the floral notes and there's just a lot going on. It's very complex. It's not as heavy. So, you can do a rye in a more accessible way. It's just how do you do it?
Especially that the ladies would like this one a lot, just because it's the lower proof, and it's got. It's smooth. Like it's got that subtle softness to it. It don't have that burn that comes with it. But no, it's really good. Good job.
No, I was gonna say it doesn't have. It's got that little kick, that flavorful kick from the rye, but like you said, it's got that nice mellow. I don't want to say mellow. A nice smooth finish. I'll be cliche. A nice smooth finish. Now, we've got the high rye bourbon, and you talked about you guys getting into this game, 10, 12 years ago. What made you and your wife decide to launch Southern Distilling? Because that seems like a weird project to want to get into.
Well, so I know that we're taping this, so I'm gonna tell you right now that we just had a huge hurricane come through here. You guys probably heard about.
Yep. What's going to be my next question? I was going to ask you about that.
I'm getting text messages from my son, so we sent him. Actually, I didn't send him. He sent himself. He said, "Hey, I'm going to take the skid steer and the equipment trailer and one of our ranch hands, and I'm going to head up and start cleaning up roads and clearing trees." So he just texted me. So I'm a little distracted to make sure that everything's okay. But they just lost a drive shaft out of one of the trucks. But he's good. So forgive me for being sidetracked.
No. And I was going to ask you. That was going to be one of my questions. And forgive me for not asking that right off the bat. But I know you guys are Statesville. You guys are east of Asheville, north of Charlotte. Is that right?
Yeah, we're east of Asheville, north of Charlotte, and we had some flooding. Like we had probably 100 acres on our cattle operation flood that's down on the river. But
Yeah.
we were really fortunate. We didn't suffer any real damage.
That's good.
But boy, I tell you what, just
Oh,
a
it's
few miles north and a few miles west, it's just like a bomb went off, and
yeah.
it's
I
it's just devastating. I mean, entire town swept away. It's devastating.
Yeah, and especially like the Asheville area, like I don't think I've not seen anything like that before.
Well, I mean, so
God
we had
bless.
the great flood of 1916 that flooded the Catawba River, and it flooded Asheville and came all the way through where I live today. I live on the Catawba River, and they tell stories about whole houses floating down the river and people plowing their fields as it's floating down the river. The field, and of course, that's not true.
Yeah.
That didn't really happen, but they tell
Right.
those fables.
Yeah,
But this was every bit as catastrophic as the flood of 1916. And as of this morning, there were 40 fatalities in North Carolina, and there will be plenty more because they haven't found
Yeah.
all of the missing people. So it's been very devastating
Yeah.
for Western North Carolina. So as a company and as a family, we're doing what we can to help folks dig out, both figuratively and literally. We had to get a sheriff's escort to send a truck of hand sanitizer and water up there today just to make it through and make sure that we got to where the relief was needed. But it's tough times in Western North Carolina.
yeah. I've not seen anything like it before in my lifetime, and as many times as I've been to Western North Carolina and East Tennessee. It's crazy to see, especially what happened there in I-40. Basically, just kind of washed away, fell into the.
4 miles of I-40,
Yeah.
countless bridges. Some of our friends in the distilling industry, have lost their entire distillery has been washed downriver.
Jeez. Well,
So
God bless
God's
you guys,
blessings.
man. Yeah. Yeah.
And
you guys are in our
we'll
prayers.
drink to these guys right now. So
Absolutely.
here's to our friends
Yeah.
and neighbors in Western North Carolina.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Cheers.
Absolutely. Well, and to go on with I know it's a heavy time, but you guys do a good bit of giving back. Like you said, you're trying to help with the relief efforts. I'm going to flip around our a little rundown a little bit. You talked about your double rye a little bit earlier. Giving back is big on that because it supports the Purple Hearts home. So I mean, you guys are an organization that you live by this giving back. It's not just this time when it's really really needed too, but all the time.
We do try, and we think that that's really kind of part of our corporate culture is to be grateful, to be thankful. That's our fourth core value, and part of being grateful is showing gratitude by giving back. And Purple Heart Homes, it's near and dear to our hearts. Founded by two Statesville natives. I'm a Statesville native, and these two guys went and served our country in the Middle East. Came back injured vets themselves and kept wanting to give back, so they formed this Purple Heart Homes, which basically builds housing and does a lot more than building housing. Just simple things like building ramps for accessibility to injured vets, not just in North Carolina but across the country. And we don't think that there's anything more honorable than that service, and to give back to these guys is important. So when we released the project, or released the product I should say, it's in the middle of COVID, and everybody always wants your tasting notes, and I was like, what, I don't really want to write these tasting notes. We brought in a bunch of staff members and vets from Purple Heart Homes, and everybody sat 6 feet apart like we were supposed to back in those good old days. And we took those guys through the how do we make it and what are tasting notes. And of course they're like, well, we don't really know. It's like, yeah, you got taste buds. You know what you like. You know what you don't like. You know what it reminds you of. Don't worry about big words and vocabulary. Let's just talk about from your heart what you taste and what you feel. We still use those tasting notes today. And that was tasting notes that were developed from a group of veterans. And, we're proud to give back to those guys. So out of every buck that we make on that product, 50 cents out of every dollar goes back to Purple Heart Homes.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Matter of fact, we got a big charity event for them this weekend. It's called Take That Hill, and so it's a charity bike ride where they go out and they do a bunch of hill climbs, and so we'll host that event. We've hosted, I think this makes our third or fourth year that we've hosted Take That Hill for Purple Heart Homes.
That's amazing, and like you said, it's a Southern Distilling is a true family operation. You mentioned your son, delivering goods. You and your wife launched this, over a decade ago. What made you all want to go into distilling? Because it's not easy.
So we didn't know that we wanted to go into distilling. So many people entered this business, because it was like, oh, it's always been my dream. It was my passion. I love whiskey, so I wanted to make a business around whiskey. And ours wasn't that romantic. What we knew we wanted to do was we wanted to do a family-owned company, right? And we wanted to do it all around ag, because I grew up on a farm and we owned farmland, and we wanted to marry those two together, right? We started by thinking we were going to do a winery and a vineyard. After about 6 or 8 months, we were like, how do you make money doing this? And you're like, well, you don't. So we can't do that. We got to make money. So,
yeah, right.
My wife and I were in college in Northern California back in the early and mid 90s, and if you remember back in that period of time, that's when these little tiny companies like Sierra Nevada, Anchor Steam, and Ballast Point, companies never heard of before, they were beginning to really upset the apple cart in the craft beer business, and we're like, damn, they're having fun, they're building big businesses, great culture, disrupting the status quo. When I grow up, I want to do that, right? So we looked at the whole wine thing, said that's not for us. At that point in time, beer was kind of tapped out, pun intended, but there wasn't really a play to be done in beer anymore. But craft distilling was just beginning to become a thing. It was like, oh, we thought that was illegal. We didn't think we could do that. So we were one of the very first craft distilleries to establish here in North Carolina. Today we have more than 110. Nationally, there were 275 DSPs in America. Today there's, depending on whose numbers you look at, roughly 3,000. So we were very early phase. Yep. But we came about it really, really differently. So if you come into our facility, it's what I call big craft or craft at scale. So it's 100% craft, but we're not operating a 250-gallon pot still. We have 2 Vendome continuous columns. We do have a pot still, but we just use it for proof of concept and specialty projects. And there's nothing wrong with the pot still. When we started our company, we had a different vision for what we wanted to do. We knew we wanted to be that answer for, as good as the MGPs of the world are, they're not right for everybody. And we wanted to come in and do something a little different and offer a different product and a different service that was true craft to non-producing brands. And we still do that today. It's a cornerstone of our business. It's the foundation of our business, and we love that. We love being a part of other people's dreams. So that's kind of how we got started and kind of where we are today.
Yeah. So Statesville. Are you guys originally from Statesville, or
I am.
You guys?
I am.
Okay.
I grew up in Statesville.
Right.
Graduated high school in Statesville.
Okay.
But then went to California and actually met my wife in North Carolina, but she wasn't supposed to be in North Carolina. She was supposed to be in school at UCLA.
Oh, wow.
She was a Southern California girl. We were both playing hooky from college in 1989 and met in a parking lot at a Grateful Dead show. And pretty much been together ever since then.
That rock on. That is awesome. That is awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. So I mean, that's cool though. How that story, how you guys met, and then of course, Statesville. Talk about how it has such a rich history with alcohol and distilling. I think in what was it, the 1800s, there was over 200 distillers. In the 1800s, there was it was the shipping point, major shipping point for whiskey in the 1800s.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's got a rich history.
Yeah. So that's a funny thing. I grew up in Statesville. My dad grew up in Statesville. Multiple generations, and nobody ever talked about it. Frankly, nobody knew about it.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
And it's hard to understand how that history can get lost so quickly. But Statesville, up through the very early 1900s, was called the liquor capital of the world. And that's kind of hard to believe, but it's true. We had 454 federally permitted distilleries operating in a 50-mile radius around Statesville. And these aren't big distilleries. These are farm-based distilleries, but they were taking fruits, grains, and creating a value-added product.
Yeah.
And the marketplace was Statesville, so they brought all their goods into Statesville. And there were 6 large rectifying houses that operated in the town limits. And those 6 rectifiers would redistill that farm-based product. They'd package it, and then they would put it on a train and ship it out. And that last thing is the most important thing. In the late 1800s and early 1900s, there were no paved roads. There were no interstates. If you're going to ship something that's heavy, and alcohol is heavy, it's got to go by rail or by boat. And we were blessed with rail. Statesville is in the center of the state. It was the capital of the state up until I can't tell you when, because of its proximity and because of the transportation that was out of here. But we had 2 major rail lines that crossed here, and it's because of that rail that really led to the birth and the development of that liquor industry. But a lot of brands, upwards of 30,000 gallons a day, were being shipped out of Statesville. We've got these amazing tax records and just correspondence, and everything was handwritten at that point in time, between the buyers in the Northeast and the producers down here in the Southeast. But that history is amazing. But what happened is that as the Prohibition movement began to take hold and the Anti-Saloon League began to really make a move in North America. Remember, North America at that point in time is just the East Coast. Kentucky was still the wild, wild west at that point in time. But in any case, the Anti-Saloon League and the temperance movement made their first move in Statesville, North Carolina, and in 1903 put Statesville into Prohibition 17 years before the rest of the country. And effectively what happened is all of those distilleries went out of business, those rectifiers went out of business, they went to Tennessee, they went to Kentucky, they went to Florida. Guess what? Those 450 some farm-based distilleries, they couldn't pick up the farm and leave. So they just kept doing it illegally. And that's why North Carolina has this legacy that everybody knows about, of bootlegging. Nobody ever says, well, why is bootlegging such a big thing? Because when you put 450 families out of business overnight, they're going to find a way to keep on doing what they're doing, and that's what they did. And so that very legal and prosperous business led to an underground movement of bootlegging, which then led into the development of NASCAR. Because you got to get it out of here, can't go by rail. So it went by Junior Johnson and all those other guys who were hauling bootleg whiskey.
Yep. Yeah, you took the words out of my mouth. I was going to say that's how NASCAR became a thing, because they could just race as fast as they can to get the moonshine wherever they were taking it.
So Wilkes County is the county that's right next to us, Alexander County, and a lot of these bootleggers that you hear about, they operated out of Wilkes County, out of Iredell County, some out of Mecklenburg, some up into Virginia, but we're right in the heart of it.
Well,
That's awesome.
I'm curious. You talk about what happened to Statesville and the liquor industry there. Was it difficult for you guys to get things going in North Carolina? Because I know a lot of places kind of had very old laws and was not always easy to launch a distillery, even 20 years ago, 10 years ago.
So one of the reasons that we launched the business that we launched is because there's no way that we could have built a transactional business. We couldn't sell a single bottle of product legally out of the distillery. So, a dozen years ago, Colorado, California, they had much more liberal, New York, much more liberal laws. We didn't. And so our business model was just inherently different. But Vienna and I, my wife and I, along with, a lot of other folks, have worked with the Distillers Association of North Carolina. We were founding members. And, DANC has worked diligently over the last decade to really modernize the laws in North Carolina. I would tell you that North Carolina is probably one of the best places to develop a craft distillery today. We went from probably one of the most restrictive from a statutory standpoint to one of the most supportive. But it's taken a decade or more to really get there. And I tell you what, the way we did it was really educating people about, okay, well, everybody's buying craft beer and they're buying craft wine. Our ethanol is no worse than their ethanol. And here's the other thing.
No.
What goes in this bottle? Primarily corn. What do we grow a lot of? Corn. What else goes in that bottle? Wheat. Well, we grow a lot of wheat. So when we start connecting our business to agriculture, then people start thinking about it differently. Politicians say, well, wait a minute, that's a big contingent for me. Farmers start thinking about, well, maybe I need to vote differently. And so it was that connection of, hey, we're making bourbon, back to bourbon starts with grain, and grain is what we produce here. That's really kind of what turned the tide for us.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I love that. And we'll talk about those grains here in a second, but we got another pour that I want to get in.
Yeah.
So you talk a little bit about the bottled in bond, the wheated straight bourbon.
Yep. So this was really the first product that we laid down. And there you go. And you're going to say, well, why 70, 16, 14? Why wheated bourbon? Again, truth in advertising. Because I love Weller. And I get to make what I like. And so I'm like, I love old Weller 107, so I'm going to make it. I'm going to make a 70, 16, 14. And so I tip my hat to those guys, and so we make it because we love it, and hopefully they appreciate our product as much as we appreciate their product, and it just goes to show you that you can make a great product anywhere in the United States. It all starts with how you make it and the care that you put into it. Not taking a thing away from our friends in Kentucky. But a lot of great product comes from a lot of great places across the United States. And so the old Weller 107, that was my inspiration. I will tell you that this product won Best Bourbon, Best Single Barrel, and Best Overall, Best in Category Bourbon at the 22 New York World Wine and Spirits Competition. That says a lot. Little North Carolina maker that you never heard of to actually win Best in Category, but we like to say it punches above its weight.
Yeah, no, it's really good. You say this is a single barrel, or do you have a single barrel variation?
No, that is a bottled and bond. So that bottled and bond is a blend. We do have it available in the single barrel. The single barrel is a cask strength. But this is a bottled and bond, so it's everything that a bottled and bond has to be. At least 4 years of age, distilled at a single place, aged at a single place, bottled at that single place, and done in season, of course, 2 seasons per year, and then of course bottled at 100 proof, and it's all of those things. Now, its big brother would be the single barrel cask strength, and it is what it says, single barrel or whatever the cask strength is. We typically put up at a 105 to 110. Those are our 2 barrel entry points. We think that We don't only think we know that lower entry proof is going to make for a less dilute product when it's got to go into that bottled and bond at 100 proof. And we believe that there's a reason that the feds used to limit barrel entry proof to 110, right? That used to be the federal limit. And we think it's still the right limit.
Yep. Very good. I mean, it is very, very similar to Weller, so well done for that. It's obviously very night and day different from what the rye is, for obvious reasons.
Totally
but
different animal.
Totally different animal. Different,
I don't know
different
if
flavor
you've got
profile.
kids, but I've got 3, and they're all totally different, and I love them all.
Yes, yes.
You couldn't have said it any better.
I love it because it's got just a nice touch, super easy to drink. I mean, you all did well on this one.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
It has a. I don't know how to. It just has a juicy top flavor to me. Like it's very. It doesn't dry your mouth out. Doesn't do none of that.
Nobody has ever used that descriptor, but I love it. I'm going to steal it from you. I'm going to steal it.
Please do.
You don't have that copy. I'm going to use that the next time I'm describing.
Please.
Juicy, because it is. I love that.
It is. It doesn't. Because you have some type of. Sometimes you have those bourbons weeded or whatever it is that dries your mouth
They're
out.
kind of astringent. This is not astringent.
Yes.
It's the opposite of that.
No, it is. It just adds that.
That's great.
It adds that juicy flavor. I don't know. Juicy. That's all I don't say.
I'm right there with you. I was right there with you when you said that. I was like, damn, that's smart. I got that.
Yeah. I mean,
that's
there you
gonna
go.
Right to his head now.
Put it. Yeah.
It's gonna go right to
if
his
you
head.
if you make T-shirts so that I
It's
want
juicy.
Yes.
Oh, it's going to happen.
Yes.
I'm going to send you one.
Yes. Please.
Already done.
I'll wear it. And I'll wear it definitely when I come see you guys.
I love that.
No, this is really good. Well done. I mean, this is great.
Thank you.
Wow. Yeah.
Well,
That's
and it's
my
funny 'cause Brandon
go-to.
and I,
Everybody's like, "What's your favorite?" I was like, "No, I love them all, but that's my go-to." And we'll have to do this again because I really want to get you guys the ryes because I know you like the ryes.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yep.
But I also want to get you the single barrel and cask of these same products. They're just, it's the same but different. But particularly with that Paragon, that wheated bourbon, I just, it's hard to beat that cask strength. It's just, it's.
You prefer the cask strength over the bottled and bond variety?
I do,
Yeah.
personally.
Yeah.
It's, our sales numbers would tell us that the bottled and bond is more popular across the board. But for me personally, I like the cask.
Oh, no doubt. This is really good. The bottled and bond's fantastic.
yeah. And it's funny because Brandon and I don't think loved wheated bourbons per se 3-4 years ago, but more have started to come on. You finally get to try some, and you go, "Oh wait, there's a complexity to these. There's a softness. There's, as Brandon eloquently said, a juiciness."
Yeah.
And you nailed it with this one.
Well, let me tell you a little like inside baseball. When I started laying these barrels down, 10 years ago, people asked, what were we laying down? I was like, well, I'm laying down a wheated bourbon, 70, 16, 14. They looked at me like I had 4 heads. Like, what are you doing that for? I was like, cause I like it. That's why I'm doing it. And then I'm going to tell you what happened. 2 years into it, I started sampling, and I'm like, I have totally fucked up. I have totally screwed the pooch here. I don't like it. But by that point, it's too late. I'm already in. We're going to keep doing it. And then, this is what I discovered about wheated bourbons. They're like children. They start off as these cute, adorable little babies, and then they turn into heinous 13-year-old teenagers, and you're like, oh my God, what have I spawned here? and then they grow through that and they turn back into respectable human beings. That's what a wheated bourbon does. It starts off pretty good, and then it goes into this like, oh my God, what have I done? And then it goes boom, it comes back up. Wheated bourbons require patience. You've got to be patient. You cannot rush it to stage. But that's one of the things I think makes them so special. It's just they're so nuanced.
Yeah. Well, just like John said, like, of course, we grew up, if we were fortunate enough to find a bottle of Weller that wasn't, astronomically priced and we could try it, we were all about that. But, getting into the craft distillery stuff, doing these podcasts, doing the flat nights, doing the reviews, there wasn't a lot of weeded stuff that we come across that was, just fit our flavor profile, and
really even
this one's
good. Bottled and Bond. I think that Bardstown released theirs, and we released ours about the same time, and you guys are more in touch with. I think there were a couple of others that I wasn't familiar with, but somebody said, "Oh, they've got one." But the Weeders are by themselves. They're not very prolific. But then to have a bottled and bond version is even a more rare, bird.
Correct.
But what's funny is that I remember when we were building the distillery, and I was making a lot of trips back and forth to Louisville at that point in time. Our engineers were there. I mean, frankly, our attorneys are there, our accountants are there. Everybody's in Louisville. It's like the center of bourbon universe. And Vendome is there, and Vendome is building all of our equipment for us. So anyway, this goes back at least 10, 12 years ago, and I was staying at the Hilton Garden Inn in downtown Louisville. Haven't stayed there in a while, but at that point in time, they had this great rooftop bar, and they had this phenomenal bourbon collection in that rooftop bar. And so I'd become a regular there, and the waiter or the waitress comes by the table, and she says, "Oh, we've got something really special for you tonight." I was like, "Great, I can't wait. Bring it on." And so she comes out with a bottle of Antique 107, Weller, right? And this is back, with the plastic screw-off cap, back in the day and all that stuff. And I'm like, "What are you talking about? That's not special. I buy the case at the bottom shelf at my ABC store. I mean, I buy cases of this stuff." She thought I was full of crap. But this is before Weller really took off and everybody just knew how good it was. It was this like phenomenal shining star that people had not discovered. And then, woe was me, everybody discovered. Now I can't get my hands on it anymore. But I mean, literally, we would buy it, load up the pickup truck,
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, I remember me and my buddies, my college buddies and buddies back home, we talk about it all the time. It's how 14, 15 years ago, you could buy Pappy whatever you wanted to, just sitting on the shelf here in Kentucky, just collecting dust. So $150 for Pappy 23 or Pappy 20, and now you look at it now, it's just
it's
crazy
say
how.
Back in those days, a bottle of 107, Weller 107, I think it cost me $23.
Yeah, I was gonna say about $20 maybe. Yeah.
The good old days.
So, yeah, absolutely. So, as you get to know John and I more, you'll know that or learn that we love transparency. Especially with the distilleries and whoever it is we're talking to or sampling their product. How important is being transparent to you guys and what you guys are doing?
Well, if you haven't been able to figure out already, pretty important.
We have.
I mean, I'm an open book. I mean, there's certain things about our processes I'm not going to tell you, but I'm going to tell you I'm not going to tell you, right?
Correct.
My yeast, I'm not going to tell you. How I run my condensers, I'm not going to tell you because it kind of sets us apart. But
correct.
But mash bills, we're always going to mean. I think the transparency should be the cornerstone. I mean, really, our business is based on authenticity. Our business is based on, and again, I'm kind of talking off script a little bit. I'm not talking about the Southern Star product lines, but the majority of our business is making products for other people, and what we give them is the ability to be authentic. You know, this is this is how we do it. This is why we do it. You know, and I think that authenticity, people give a shit about that, right? You know, and you know, people want a real story. They love a story, but it rings hollow if it's just a fable. You know,
Yep.
they don't want fiction. They want truth.
Yep. 100%.
So I'll come
And
off my soapbox, but I think authenticity and truth and transparency, very important.
And in my mind, that's what you have to be in this game, because there's a lot of distilleries out there that won't disclose their mash bills, and I don't understand why. Because
That's
it's just
what-
like
I'm gonna tell you right
a
now.
mash bill is a mash bill. Like, you know, you don't have to
Exactly.
tell me what strand. You don't have to tell me what strand of yeast you're using. You don't have to tell me
Yeah.
what.
You know what? Mash bills are the fourth most important thing in the scenario. And
Correct.
you guys are probably going to get a lot of hate mail because, oh my God, Pete Barger from Southern Distilling just said mash bills were the fourth most important thing. They are.
Bring it.
You know, the most important thing is the cooperage.
Yep.
The next most important thing is how you made it.
Yep.
The next most important thing is the yeast strain, and the mash bill is in there. But, you know, ask Dave Shirk. Dave Shirk is a great friend of ours, and if you know Dave and you know his legacy at Brown Forman and Seagram's before that and what he did at Woodford Reserve, you know, he developed his reputation based on his palate. And Dave would always say, you know, Pete, you know, because he really, you know, I studied under the school of Dave Shirk. But, you know, he would say 60% of the flavor comes from the barrel. So don't screw that up. You know, don't skimp on the barrel and make sure that barrel is aging in the right place. You know, and, you know, a barrel is composed of 30 to 35 pieces of individual wood, and every one is going to yield something different. You know, but it starts with the cooperage. It's then how did we produce that distillate? You know, a lot of times people will say, you know, I say it anyway, that barrel will make up for the sins of production. You know, but if I don't sin in production, I don't have to atone in that barrel, and that's very important. So that's kind of why we give up a little bit of yield to get rid of some of those bad actors that we don't want. But then finally it comes into yeast, and yeast is critically important. Critically important.
Yep.
You know, are you after maximizing yield? Are you after floral notes? And we're really looking for a balance. I want to maximize yield, but not at the expense of great flavor. And neither one at the expense of something that's so esoteric that, you know, it can't survive the fermentation process. So we're looking for a robust yeast that can perform at higher fermentation temperatures and that produces those flavor notes that we're really looking for.
Yep. And a lot of people a lot of people don't understand that they just say yeast. They think that maybe just all distilleries use 5 different yeast. There's a million different strands of types of yeast that can be used. Now,
exactly.
it's up to the distillery on how to pick it, use it, distill it, put it with the different other grains. So that's what that's what I try to tell folks as well.
All of that is important. You know, the natural yeast that are in the environment and how they factor in. I mean, you know, there's a lot of things that we do that are not traditional. You know, we use a lot of automation and a lot of controls, and that allows us to. We've got a tremendous laboratory staff that does a lot of analytics, so we really lean into the geeky science side of things. But we ferment in open-top fermenters.
Yeah. But you talk about the automation side of things. You know, that's to me that's smart. That's getting ahead of the game. You know, it's being that modernization. Because otherwise, you know, nobody wants to turn into a Blockbuster video. They want to be Netflix, right?
Yeah,
So-
that's right. Yeah, and which means that you've always got to be looking for opportunities to kind of
Correct.
upset the apple cart.
Right.
You know, I'm texting my son again. Sorry, he just called me again. Just
No,
checking.
you're good.
But
Take your time.
yeah, and the reason that we use automation is not to, you know, reduce the cost that we have in labor. It's to eliminate human error and to really control processes more finitely than you could ever do if you're waiting on people to come back with those answers. You know, and my
Correct.
background is automation and robotics, and I just I was able to take a lot of that tech from other industries and then bring it into what is probably one of the most traditional manufacturing spaces, which is, distillation in America. And you can balance those two. And there's a way to balance tradition with, with new technology and new ways.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I totally agree. There's a certain point in time in in your processes where you got to think smarter, not harder. You don't have to do it all in every aspect or every space of it, but there's an open opportunity there for some of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
Now, you mentioned, the distillery. What can folks expect when they come and visit y'all in Statesville? And did I also read that you all have many donkeys down there? Because now I'm extra intrigued.
We do have many donkeys. So when you come visit here, what you can expect is a world-class experience. So there's a lot of beautiful distilleries in Kentucky. We have a beautiful distillery here in North Carolina. We're situated right off of Interstate 77. It doesn't get any more convenient. Great friends in all throughout the distilleries in Kentucky, but a lot of times it's a drive to get there. We're right off of the interstate, but we're right off of the interstate in the middle of, a beautiful agricultural part of North Carolina, about 40 minutes north of Charlotte. But we're situated on a 20-acre campus. We've got a 36,000-foot distilling operation. We've got 2 rick houses there that are on site. We've got a 12,000 square foot event space there. And we have 4 mini donkeys. And the mini donkeys are probably one of the most popular attractions. So a lot of people just come for the mini donkeys.
That's awesome.
Come for the mini
That's
donkey,
awesome.
Stay for the bourbon. I mean, you hook them right in.
Come for the mini
That's
donkey,
awesome.
stay for the bourbon.
That's awesome.
Another T-shirt right there.
Hey, you send Brandon the juicy
We're just-
one.
I got to write this down. Hang on a second. Seriously, I'm writing
Yeah,
this
no, take your time. No, take your time. We need you to write down all these ideas.
All right, come for the mini donkeys, stay for the bourbon.
Yep.
Okay, what was the other one? It's juicy.
Juicy. It's juicy.
This
You
is
could
one
put
of the
the-
most productive podcast I've ever had. I'm getting more out of this than
I
you
mean,
I don't know. We're
That's
getting
awesome.
some good bourbon.
hey,
We're getting
you
some
are.
good bourbon, so I'm enjoying it.
Listen, I'm here for it. Yeah, and we're definitely. John and I's already talked. Like we want to get down to you guys, especially once everything calms down with the cleanup and everything like that. We want to get there. See you guys, because Statesville is when we got you guys booked on to do the show. I started doing research on it, and I didn't realize there was that much history like we talked about previously. So that's really neat to me.
Well, if you're into the history, you're gonna love it. We really need to do a better job just putting some of these artifacts on display out there. But we've started collecting a lot of these antique packages, and a lot of it's crockery. Around the turn of the century, the turn of the 20th century, and the 19th century, everything was shipped in crockery, which are these big, heavy jugs. There was a deposit on that jug, like there used to be on Coke bottles, and you had to send it back, and they'd refill it, and they would send it back again. But we started collecting that, and it's amazing how many different brands we've discovered. But you'd get a kick out of that if you're into the history thing, and then the tax records there are phenomenal. Just to see.
I would assume there's you got a museum or two there. I don't know.
Well, we try. We need to try harder, but I think that's one of those opportunities that we really need to lean into, is creating more of an educational opportunity for people to really see and learn about this history, because it's so interesting. Everybody, Kentucky is, that's Bourbon Central. We all know that.
Right.
But there's a history that predates Kentucky that's also very interesting. And frankly, all due respect to Kentucky, they wouldn't be there without that, without other people kind of laying some groundwork before that. And we were a part of it.
100%. No, I agree.
Absolutely.
I totally agree. So, just real quick, do you want to tell our fans and our folks, because I don't know this myself, and if you don't know right off the top of your head, do you have the price point for the high rye at all, or the bottled and bond right off the top of your head? If you don't, that's not a big deal.
You're gonna hate this. I don't.
That's fine. No big deal.
This goes to tell you what a damn geeky distiller I am. That's the sales side.
You're that robotics engineer guy. Like you're not the numbers guy. I get it.
They do this. I'm the numbers guy, but not when it comes to that part.
I know. Yeah.
Whatever. Don't let my
Totally
sales and marketing
number.
people see this. They're going to
totally
shoot
different.
me.
No, we'll edit that part out. Sorry.
Yeah.
I literally kind of went off script, took a shot in the dark, and
I think that
I just wanted to see.
that the bottled and bond is $59.95 in most markets. I think the single barrel is $69.95.
We'll go with that.
I don't know where the I think that the other is like $44.95 for the high rye, but it's bounced around. At one point it was $39.95, and we're like, I think that we're underrepresented at the price point.
Well, the two that we had to that, the bottled and bond, the weeded 100 proof, and then the high rye straight 90 proof. If those are those price points, I mean, people should run to buy those. These are fantastic. And,
well,
I
can tell you that that's based on memory in North Carolina. North Carolina is pretty darn close to the rest of the country relative to price.
Yeah.
You know, that's where they are. We don't have anything. I mean, the only thing that we've got that approaches $100 is like super limited edition, single barrel, you know, Panthers, Carolina Panthers release. I can tell you that's $99.95. But we released that
for sure.
You know those.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You big Panthers fan?
Well, we are. It's hard. It's hard to keep the faith sometimes.
I get it.
I mean, we have to be because we're sponsors. We're the official bourbon of the Carolina Panthers, you know. So.
Oh, nice.
It could be worse.
That's awesome.
You could be Brandon and be a Cowboys fan,
But
you could be a Cowboys fan.
We didn't win on Sunday, but we didn't look bad. We were in the hunt. And that was so great. And we took it to the Raiders last weekend. So that was great.
I agree. I totally agree. It could be worse. You could be a Cowboys fan, and all we want to do is just market our team. We don't care about winning. Like that's all we care about. So
we're
really good marketers. We can't play football worth shit.
Yeah, well, I got to tell you that there's been a lot of disappointment over the past couple of seasons around our Panthers, but last 2 weekends gave us a little bit of hope, a little bit of something to look forward to. So.
Yeah, no, I'm there. I'm rooting for you guys.
Thank you.
Same, and can you tell folks, you know, where they can find Southern Star and other products of yours? Where can they buy those in states, so to speak, or you in multiple states nowadays?
North Carolina is our biggest market, and you know, we do have distribution in Kentucky. Not great distribution, but we are at Liquor Barn in Kentucky and a few other outlets in Kentucky. And I'm probably breaking the law by saying where they can find it, but that I know, Liquor Barn. Liquor Barn. Did I say that?
Yeah.
It's a good one. It's a good one.
Yeah.
It's a good one.
But,
pretty sure.
We also have that DTC, you know, little piece on our website. You can go to buy here, and truth, you know, be told, we're still trying to do that the right way. You know, trying to figure out that whole like e-commerce thing is still mysterious to us. We're still working on it, but there is an outlet there, an e-commerce outlet as well.
Yeah. Very nice.
I like it, and you know, we got to finish on a question of one that either gets you in trouble or at least you tease enough stuff. What do you got coming next? Anything good that you can tell us about? Anything good?
We have some amazing things coming out. I don't know if this is good news for you guys or not, but we have some incredible finished releases coming out. They're limited. So the Panthers bottle was a cognac finished product, and it is remarkable. We kind of did that because a lot of the Panthers legends that we talked to last year, Mike Rucker and guys like that, they said, we're getting into bourbon, but we really like our cognac. And so we said, okay, kind of, tipping our hat to those guys. We did this cognac finish for these guys this year in the limited release. But we've got we've got a honey barrel. So we took a wheated bourbon barrel, we emptied it, we gave it to a local honey producer. He put honey in it, aged honey for a year, dumped the honey out. We took the barrel back and put more wheated bourbon back in it. It is remarkable.
Really?
That's a very limited release.
Sounds fantastic.
We've got a little broader release with, we did a little partnership with a family vineyard out of Sonoma called Carlisle. And they did an amazing Zinfandel that was almost on the borderline of being a port. And we, very, very, very sweet. But we did wheated bourbon finish in that, and that's going to be coming out. Did 3 barrels of that. So there's going to be some really, we're kind of leaning more into those finishes right now.
Yeah. Well, now just real quick, you said that you love blends, right? Like you love to blend, love those like
The blends, yes.
Yes, you love the blends, but now, how are you liking like the finished barrel product? I know you mentioned the honey one and all that stuff, but overall,
Well, those are still blends.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah,
But
those are
but still,
blends.
like it's,
and I like them just because, you just get to be more creative. You get to experiment,
Correct.
and because it's a smaller batch blend, if you screw up, you just drink it yourself and you don't ever tell anybody.
that's fair. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Right.
That's
man.
fair.
Good with
I
those
love
numbers.
it. Yeah, yeah. Well, I can't wait to come down and see you guys because I want to try
can't
some
wait to
other
have you
stuff.
We'll have you fitted for your custom T-shirts
print-
when you get in.
Print the T-shirts. I'll have a custom lining in my suit or something that says "Juicy." I don't know. We'll do that.
I love it. Tattoo right here.
And he'll do it too.
Yeah, tattoo. Yes. With the logo of the bottled and bond. There we go.
I like
Juicy.
it. I like it.
I like it. I'm in. I'm awesome.
You just never know what's going to happen on this show. Every now and then I'm get a nickname. Some other people get T-shirts out of it. And Pete, thanks for sharing some good pours with us, man.
Guys,
Hey,
thank you so
hey,
much.
Pete.
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you guys. Thank
Cheers.
you guys. God bless you guys, and we're praying for you guys down there. Seriously.
Thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you, guys. Take
Cheers.
care.
Find more from Hops and Spirits at hopspirits.com.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Find more from Hops and Spirits at hopspirits.com.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.